back there looking like, who is he introducing? It's my time to come on. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are all of you all this evening? Unfortunately, I did not get a chance to meet everyone during the networking session, but please make sure after this you come and talk to me. I like people. So raise your hands if you feel like you are successful. Raise your hand if you feel like, yes, we wake up in the morning, I'm a success. Great. I'm glad that you all raised your hands, and I want you to know that you're right. I want you to know that you're absolutely right. And as you can imagine, being the son of Les Brown, the great motivator, he asked the question earlier, what was it like growing up with Les Brown as your father? And I told him it's like having high standards that never go away. You know, it took me years to find out that question, but you want to try that one? Okay, let's switch it one. Okay, check. 1, 2, 3. Okay, great. Thank you. I thought it's like having high standards that never go away. When I was young, instead of watching cartoons, I was studying my dad's competition from the previous years. And sitting down, I had to watch the videos. In high school, I was on punishment for not writing a book. You know, so you might think that's funny, but that's cruel. And it was because at the time I had opportunities to sell books, but I had not found my own voice yet. I did not just want to repeat things that I had heard before. Anybody can relate to that? But now I wish I would have had my book then. So here I am, 25, just about to release my book, but it's me. You know, it's a part of me, and I punish myself for not releasing it sooner. Sometimes you don't know what you have until you use it. And so the reason why I tell you all that you all are successful, and number one, you heard about CEO Space, which we don't advertise for a reason, because it's something that you don't want everyone to be a part of. It's something that everyone is really not qualified to be a part of, and that says nothing about them, but about the agenda for this organization. But the reason why I say that you all are successful is because of a statistic that I read when I was very little, and it stayed with me all this time. It actually upset me as a kid when I saw this, because I thought it wasn't deep enough. You know, people that like deep things, you know, I'm like, come on, take me somewhere. And this statistic just didn't do it, but as I lived, I discovered it was true. And you all might be familiar with it, but studies show that 90% of success is showing up. Anybody in here, raise your hand if you've heard that quote. 90%. So you can imagine me as a kid reading this 90% of success is showing up. What? That's it? That wasn't deep enough for me. I needed a whole action and where's the visualization and all that other stuff that goes along with it. But it said 90% of success is showing up. But how many of you all in this room, you haven't been to the forum yet, but you know people that could benefit from going to CEO Space? You don't have to go to say, oh, they need to be there. And you could call them up right now and say, listen, get over here. There's a life-changing opportunity that could take your company from local to global. Come here right now. But they wouldn't even come. They wouldn't even show up. If you told them right now, this is it, this is what you've been looking for, they wouldn't even show up. Why? It's because 90% of success is showing up. Those people will find all kind of other excuses and talk to you about how this economy has left them messed up. But when it's time to show up for something that could change their lives, they're absent. So that's what I know about you. You are a success. You are massively successful because you showed up. And so if we know 90% of success is showing up, look to the person on the right and left and say, what's the other 10%? What's the other 10%? That's what I had to figure out. What is the other 10%? If 90% of success is showing up, then what's the other 10%? Benjamin Franklin said something, and it stuck with me. I must have learned this quote in the 5th grade, you know. But he said, blessed are those that seek nothing, for they shall never be disappointed. Blessed Blessed are those that seek what? Nothing. So you should never be disappointed. So if you could think about some people that you know could benefit from CEO Space, and you were to call them right now when they did not come, don't look at them funny. Look at them as being what? Blessed. They're blessed. It takes a lot of work to be a leader. It takes a serious commitment to take your stuff to a whole nother level and to still be stretching. And so I thought about it as I got older. Benjamin Franklin said, blessed are those that seek nothing, for they shall never be disappointed. But what if you are seeking something? What if you do have a plan and a vision for your life? Well, that means you will face some disappointments. Raise your hand if in 2009 you, your family, or your business faced some disappointments. Oh, you mean it wasn't just the Brown family? Here I am. I'm driving with my dad last year. We're going to a speakers bureau. We've never been to the speakers bureau before. We've done business with them for years. But they did not complete the rest of the contract. They paid their 50%. We need our other 50%. That 50% was a nice change for us. So I'm with my dad like we're about to go do a drive-by or something, trying to find this speakers bureau. We go there for the first time and the doors are closed. The company's been shut down. They've moved. How many people that you used to do business with for years, they're not in business anymore. They won't be opening their doors again. So I was in a workshop last week, and before I spoke, I love to hear the other speakers because, you never know when something's going to change your life. And so I'm in the back of the room, I'm thinking I'm getting ready for my presentation, and then I was asked a simple question that shifted everything. The speaker asked, why are you in business? Why are you in business? I'm there going through my notes, and I said, oh, okay, hold on. Let me answer this for myself. Why are you in business? And as we in this room think about that, I'd rather ask you this question. And I thank that speaker for allowing me to borrow his content, and combine it with my thinking. I would like to ask you all, why are you still in business? Why are you still in business? When top companies and corporations from around the world have closed their doors for good, why are you still in business? What is it about you that keeps you seeking, coming and looking for opportunities to expand when everyone knows that the economy is shrinking? Why are you still in business? You got some type of guts, some type of heart. The audacity of you to show up here today, it says volumes about you. And so when I think about it for myself, why am I still in business? When I think about what has kept me going since I was 10, for me it starts off with seeds. Everyone say seeds of hope. Seeds of hope. Now, you have to excuse me, I'm a motivational speaker, but I'm also a hip-hop artist. And it's always amazing me. A hip-hop artist could go into a concert with thousands of people and have them yell out some nonsense. Everybody say, yeah, boy! And then everyone says, yeah, boy! Thousands of people. But when you're in environments like this, talking about building a better future for the generations to come, and you say, everyone say seeds of hope, you get seeds of hope. Okay, give us another chance. So let's try to, everyone with power and conviction, like you are a hip-hop star, everyone say seeds of hope. Seeds of hope. Wait a minute, let me get out of here. Y'all. See, there's a big difference. You just said seeds of hope like you've got some seeds of hope. See, the first time that I ever gave a speaking engagement, it was not at a fancy venue. It wasn't at CEO Space with the marvelous super teaching, even though I love that venue more than any of that I've ever been at. The first time that I ever gave a speech was when I was 10 years old. My grandmother, the center of our family, the pillar, Mrs. Mamie Brown, she passed away from breast cancer on my birthday. Anyone in here ever lost someone that meant a lot to you, whose impact can never be replaced? And so here I am as a kid, still naive, wanting to be happy on my birthday, but learning from the adults around me how to be sad. Wondering what it's going to be like not having my grandmother watch me grow into my manhood. and to keep that going. And a couple days later, during the funeral, they asked if anyone wanted to get up and share what was on their hearts. And there, for the first time, I gave my first speech. And afterwards, my dad looked at me with hopeful eyes and said, "Son, there's greatness within you. You have a calling on your life. You will carry the torch to this next generation." And right there when my dad looked at me and he pulled me and said, "Son, you've got greatness within you." Right there, those seeds of hope were planted, looking at my dad as doing something that was great for him, but being part of something big that was great for my family and for this world. Those seeds of hope were planted. So right now, wherever you are, think about your seeds of hope. Think about your Mamie Brown. Think about your Les Brown. You might not have had a millionaire father to look at you and say you've got greatness within you. You might not have ever had to do any type of speaking engagements. But why are you still in business? What are your seeds of hope that brought you here tonight? Because I'm sure people can learn from it. You know, when you talk about and when you think about how tiny these small little seeds are, and how fragile and delicate these aren't big things, and what they have to go through after being buried in order to actually sprout up and to blossom and to bear fruit. See, a lot of times people, they forget about and they make fun of the dirt. You know, like when the seed, they think that everything is coming from that seed. So at CEO Space, we specialize in value exchange. Everyone say value exchange. Value exchange. Yes, see, that seed is not doing it by itself. There's a value exchange that's happening with the dirt. So all of the dirt that you've been through, if people have tried to dirty up your legacy and maybe did not see the greatness in you, there's value in that dirt. The seed does not do it by themselves. There's some exchange that the seed without the dirt, it could not do. It could not come up. But what happens is people right now, especially in these times, because they don't have that future vision of themselves, because they have not clearly identified their seeds of hope, they're so desperate and they're not looking to invest in themselves. Instead of planting the seeds of hope, they end up eating the seeds. They don't plant the seeds, they eat the seeds, they devour it, they end up sabotaging the seeds to their own success. Anybody know some people in here and the very thing they were looking for, they destroyed it? See, that's what happens when you lose your seeds of hope and you move yourself out of the mindset of being able to take advantage of those seeds. So the next thing after we identify our seeds of hope, the next thing is higher standards. Everyone say higher standards. Higher standards. You've got to have some higher standards to be in business today. You cannot approach everything the same way. I know for me, traveling as a teenager, at 14 I started to make $2,500 an hour. So that was my first paycheck. Anyone know some teenagers who wouldn't mind starting out making $2,500 an hour? Okay, great. Or some adults, great. And when I started to generate that type of income, I'll be honest with you, even though my dad was making $20,000 an hour, I felt like it was a bit, maybe too good to be true. I said, "Hey Dad, it's a lot of money. Why am I getting paid this? Am I just making this because I'm your son?" He said, "No, John Leslie, you're one of 9. I had to think about it. I got 8 other brothers and sisters. They never made $2,500 an hour, you know. He said, "Listen, you don't get paid by the hour. You get paid based on the value that you bring to the hour. You don't get paid by the hour. You get paid based on the value that you bring to the hour. So if you're in business today and you can afford to be a part of this membership of the CEO Space family, you're not only a person that have identified their seeds of hope, whether it's your family members, whether it's the business idea that no one else knows yet, but you know it's going to solve that problem, or whether it's the team of people that have believed in you when no one else had. You don't only have those seeds of hope, you've got to have some higher standards to be a part of our team. You've got to have that to go the extra mile. I just picked up a book from the bookstore. They said there's no traffic on the extra mile. I had to buy it. I had to buy it. I live in LA where there's lots of traffic, so I had to buy that. And so, for me, having higher standards was, and I'll tell you, when I spoke in front of adults, they were always able to find value in my presentations, and I would get these rousing standing ovations and insightful questions afterwards about my presentations. But whenever I spoke to youth groups, it was like, oh yeah, okay, Benjamin Franklin, great. I didn't have that same connection. I wasn't making that same impact. Write this down. Impact drives income. Impact drives income. And so that's what my dad had taught me. So I'm saying, okay, what is the point if here I am a teenager and I can help CEOs and top executives and have things that they find valuable, but the same material, the kids my age don't care about it? They don't want to use it? And so that used to frustrate me as an intellectual. I would give my 45-minute presentation and then I would close my speeches with a poem. And whenever youth groups heard the poem, they said, oh, yeah, can you do that poem again? Oh, can we hear another rhyme? Do you have another one? And so as an intellectual, I would say, hold on, I put all these jewels in my speech. Here you are, you just want to hear me rhyme. That upset me. I just couldn't get it. So I said, okay, it's one thing to complain, it's another to correct. So when I spoke to audiences, I told people, if you can turn on the radio and learn how to be a thug, you should be able to turn on the radio and learn how to be a thinker. You should be able to turn on the radio and learn how to be an entrepreneur. Turn on the radio and bob your head to learning how to be a world-class leader. So that was my vision. But instead of waiting for someone to show up, my higher standards, instead of, listening to the radio, complaining about it, why don't I correct? Who else better than Les Brown's baby boy? And so my mission was not to just be effective with adults and to speak in corporate America, but who's going to take this essential message to our youth? Anybody, raise your hand if you know some kids that should be in this room today. Even if you don't have it. To me, it was not enough just following those footsteps. And so I went to my dad and I said, Dad, guess what? I've got it all planned out. I'm going to be the first motivational speaker with the #1 music video. Nice. Yeah, he did not say nice. He said, nice and out. You could go ahead and get right out. See, to him, after mentoring me in this field, exposing me to some of the top thought leaders growing up, for me, he said, hold on, you're going to stop making $10,000 an hour to be a rapper? Yeah, he thought it was, he didn't think it was funny though. But I'm saying, no, Dad, when people come to hear that hit song, they're going to think they're coming to hear that hit song in the concert hall, but I'm going to tell them to reach under your chair, pull out the workbook, because I'm going to give them a life-changing seminar. He said, yeah, right, you work on that. That's fine. You go do your entertainment thing. I'm going to keep on being an intellectual resource. And while you're at it, guess what? Don't ask me for a dime. And my dad is the one that tell you, he believes that you teach a man how to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime, that whole thing. My dad said if he's on his deathbed and he has a quarter left to his name, he'll swallow it. I think that's funny. That is not funny when you're me. So, and so that is his mentality. And so when I decided, hey, forget it, the youth need to hear this message too, because they're not going to be in seminars and workshops. They're not going to come there. I got to take the message where they can hear it. I only have my higher standards, and after not being in my Father's good grace and no longer being the golden boy anymore, I didn't have any financial backing. All I had were my seeds of hope. That's all I had. That's what kept me going. That's why I'm still with you today. That's why I asked what your seeds of hope are. If you got some seeds of hope like me, then they're probably strong, and they're probably still growing, and they're probably ready to come out and bring something new to the planet. When I first started, all I knew was that if you could turn on the radio and learn how to be a thug, you should be able to turn on the radio and listen to me. That's all I knew. I never made a song. I had never thought about making a song, but I noticed something. When my dad when he was married to the great singer Gladys Knight, when we would go out in places in public, people would be coming to Miss Gladys Knight all the time. Oh, excuse me, oh, midnight train to Georgia. Can you sign this paper? No. We'd be in a restaurant, and as a kid, I'm like, oh, okay, these people leave us alone. And then it was different because I was used to my dad getting that attention, but now it was going to the entertainer. And so in the same restaurant with all these people coming up to Gladys, then the owner of the restaurant comes out and says, excuse me, Mr. Les Brown, I heard you speak many years ago, and my dream was to open this restaurant, and now you're sitting in it. You changed my life. And so there was a big difference from, oh, can you sign this paper, to you changed my life. That's when I learned the real power, impact, drives income. So for me, it was never just to make music and get up there and dance, but to put life-changing content over music that sells. So that was my mission. That was my higher standards. And with higher standards, what is about? It's not about always making the right decision. It's not about having some type of do-gooder instinct. No, trust me, I would have blown that a long time ago. Having higher standards, it's about knowing what you've got. It's about knowing who and whose you are. It's so interesting. When I went off on my own and started to do things locally, I taught high school and middle school for a year. I started an inner city youth program funded through UCLA. And I also worked with autistic youth and adults and people with Down syndrome. And I got hired after volunteering for this nonprofit called ARC, which stands for Activities for Retarded Children. I got hired as a teacher after volunteering for a while, but really I became the student. And there I learned something. I worked with people that became my friends, mid-40s. It took me 6 months to get them to write out all the days of the week, on their own. But yet and still, these same people, they went to work every day. They paid their bills on time. They did not complain about the lack of opportunity. They went to the day program, and many of us know people in our lives with all of their mental faculties complaining about what they can't do, what they can't have. What is it? No. They just have a lower standard. And so when we talk about having higher standards, what is that about? The quote that my dad will be known for in the history books is this, and you all might be familiar with it. He said, when he was a little kid actually, he wrote this quote, "Shoot for the moon, because even if you miss, you'll land amongst the stars." Anybody in here heard that quote? Raise your hand. Shoot for the moon, because even if you miss, you'll land amongst the stars. He wrote that quote while he was in high school. He attended a school and they had this contest for kids to come up with an original saying that expressed their highest beliefs. And at the time, my dad's nickname was DT. DT, which stood for the dumb twin. See, he was labeled educably mentally retarded, and his twin brother Wesley, my uncle, he always got good grades. So in school they called him DT. So this young man, labeled educably mentally retarded with the nickname of DT, entered this contest anyway, and he wrote out, "Shoot for the moon, because even if you miss, you'll land amongst the stars." That quote was read by one of the fathers of the self-development industry, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, who wrote The Power of Positive Thinking. And he used to use that quote to close every speech. The quote that was written by my father, who they called the dumb twin. Now he's taking his dumb twin behind all the way to the bank. With that label. Yo, you with me on that? Why? Because he's got a higher standards. Everyone say higher standards.
Higher standards.
Yes. So what standard are you raising to this year? What new innovation are you ready to bring to the marketplace? It must be something, because you came out looking to expand. And everyone knows this is the worst economic climate ever. So you've got seeds of hope that can withstand the storm of this economy. You've got seeds of hope that won't get cut down by the doubt and discouragement that your loved ones try to put you through whenever you say anything that's not traditional. I know what happens to you. The motivator did it to me. So I can only imagine what you all have to put up with being the successful beings that you are. So not only do we have seeds of hope and higher standards, the next thing is opportunity mindset. Everyone say opportunity mindset.
Opportunity mindset.
Okay, don't make me turn it out in here. Let's start this one more time. Everyone say opportunity mindset.
Opportunity mindset.
You must have a huge opportunity mindset. A huge opportunity mindset. And what does that actually look like? See, and having an opportunity mindset, I know you actually have it, because it's when you walk into a room and people feel like there's an opportunity around. It's when, you ever been in a room and you say, hold on, I think there's a blessing in here. Hold on, where did it go? You ever had that feeling with somebody you did not know what field they were in? They just walked by you and they had something and you knew it was it. And so when we talk about having an opportunity mindset, really it's about, write this down, dedicating your imagination. Dedicating your imagination. If you're going to the forum and you're one of those 20 people who have already signed up, trust me on this. Start dedicating your imagination down. Now, leave that doubt for the people that are still fun busting. You know, you want to get in the mindset of going, boom. These are the things that I will leave with from this forum. Why? Because your mindset is dedicated, your focus. I remember this, I'm reminded of this story, this gentleman who was driving through San Francisco, and as he was approaching a toll booth, he heard loud music being played, and so he looked around and there were no other cars playing this loud music. And as he pulled up to this toll booth, he realized there was a man inside the toll booth playing the loud music, and he was dancing. The guy in the car looked at the other toll booths. No one else was dancing. No one else was playing loud music. So he knew it wasn't someone's birthday or some type of national toll booth holiday. You know. So he asked the man. He said, "Excuse me, sir, what are you doing?" The man in the toll booth said, "I'm having a party." Gentleman in the car said, "Well, what about the rest of it?" The man turned down the music for the first time, and he pointed. He said, "What do those look like to you?" The guy in the car said, "Toll booths," right? He said, "No, look again. They're vertical coffins. Every day, they enter their vertical coffins from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., not living, just going through the motions. Until after work, they reemerge like Lazarus and continue on with the rest of their day." The gentleman in the car was shocked. This guy had developed a whole different philosophy about his job. He said, "Well, sir, what makes you any different?" The guy turned back up his music. He said, "I don't know why anyone would not love my job. I have a corner glass office, a wonderful view of the Golden State Bridge, and every day I come to work just to improve my dancing skills." How many of you all in this room know people that are stuck in vertical coffins? No people. They complain about their vertical coffins, they moan and groan about it, but they never re-emerge out of it and turn up a new life. Why? Their opportunity mindset is shut. Write this down. Opportunity only dances with those who are already on the dance floor. Opportunity only dances with those who are already on the dance floor. So coming here, you are setting yourself up. This March, all of us who are going to the forum, where are we going to? The dance floor. All right, that's the people that's going right there. We're going to the dance floor. We're not waiting for somebody to come up. Excuse me, sir, may I have this opportunity? No, forget that. He's out there already dancing. We're attracting that opportunity to him because he has what? Opportunity mindset. So, when you've identified your seeds of hope, and you commit yourself to higher standards. Now, I've recorded over 300 songs, ladies and gentlemen. 300 songs with no profanity. 300 songs that build self-esteem. 300 songs that talk about goal setting. Titles like Born to Win. Honesty is the best policy. At the top. See you at the top or from the top. You know, 300 songs, and in that time, being frustrated, not in the best financial situation, the only thing I had to keep me going so that I did not make the same type of music that everyone else did were my higher standards. 300 songs. That's the only thing, my opportunity mindset saying, hey, if you can turn on the radio and learn how to be a thug, you should be able to turn on the radio and learn how to be a thinker. I did not know what that seed of hope would turn into. I did not know. And with the opportunity mindset, something else happens. Everyone say, look to the person on the right of you. Look them in their eye. And very serious. Say, willpower. Yeah, I like that grunt. Keep that grunt in your voice. Willpower. That's good. Willpower. If you are still in business in 2010, and you are not just still in business, but you're ready to take your business to a whole nother level. We deal with some of the top products in the world, from launching major book campaigns to making sure that we have a green society to transport to our kids, to making sure that we have the right things in place, that we're not perpetuating the same old problems looking for different results. That's what CEO Space is about. But in order for you to make it, whether you come to the forum or not, number one, you're already in the right mindset because 90% of success is showing up. So you showed up here today, that says a lot about you. What else? Keep those seeds of hope. Identify them. Maintain those higher standards and that opportunity mindset. But in order to make it today, even that's not enough. You've got to learn how to acknowledge and to access your willpower. Willpower. Let me tell you how I heard about CEO Space. I was eavesdropping. My dad was in the room on the phone talking to my brother and sister and saying who run the company. Oh, Calvin and Serena, you got to come to this place called CEO Space. These people are serious. They're networking all night and they're signing checks. Now, all I heard was checks. I'm in the other room. When I heard checks, I put my ear to the door. You know, I want to hear about it. Now, the first thing that happened, and I want you to think about how you heard about this. First thing I thought, well, if it's so good, how come he didn't invite me? You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm wondering. Now, this is what's so interesting. That was 3 forums ago, okay? I've been to 2 forums. That time, the next one that my dad was going to, I did not have my money saved up to go. I had to wait, but I went the next forum, and I've been to 2 forums. Guess what? My brother and sister, they never showed up. They've never been to a forum. They're not even the type to show up. I could have told him that listening to the conversation. That's not their style. He didn't ask me to come and I showed up. He didn't tell me about it and I showed up. And I grew more in the last 2 forums with my business than I have the past 5 years by myself. Thank you. And I can say, how did I get there? How did I find out about CEO Space? I would have to say, well, I didn't hear about it on Meetup. No, it was my willpower. I earned it. I deserved it. Working locally in the trenches for 5 years with at-risk youth, trying to get them to develop a larger vision of themselves, I needed CEO Space to take me out of that environment, to put me with some players who I have something in common with, so we could take a bigger program to those communities that make a larger impact than I could just make by doing everything by myself. And so willpower had my nosy behind overhearing my dad's conversation for a reason. That's all I can blame it on, is the willpower. Everybody say willpower.
Willpower.
And so, you guys are a great audience. Just give yourselves a round of applause. You guys. So, everyone say, we got the show.
We got the show.
Where's the up?
Where's the up?
Right? We got the show. What's the S? Seeds of hope. What's the H? Higher standards. What's the O? Opportunity mindset. What's the W? Willpower. We're talking about the other 10%. Where's the up? The U stands for undeveloped relationships. Undeveloped relationships. I had an undeveloped relationship that started to become developed with myself when I decided to start making music. I would have went to my grave without recording one song and been massively successful, but I would have been missing something. When you hear my music, you know it's something that I was born to do. And so when we talk about the relationships that we form, how many of you all know people, maybe even friends of yours, that could use the product or services that you provide, but you haven't really nurtured that relationship the way that it should to get the fruits? Raise your hand if I'm not the only one. People that you already know. You don't even need a new prospects. What have we done with the people that are in our lives? But sometimes the ones that are closest to us are the toughest people to reach. That's why you want to write this down. At CEO Space, we don't have that issue. Write this down. Don't let your group destroy your greatness. Don't let your group destroy your greatness. Sidney Poitier, in his book entitled The Measure of a Man, he talks about when you're walking down the street with someone, you'll adjust to their pace and theirs to yours without even noticing it. And the same thing can happen with the rhythm of your life. Have you ever noticed that when you're walking around the street, you don't say, okay, you ready? 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, turn. No, it just naturally happens. Why? People rub off on you. And so when you're talking about not letting your group destroy your greatness, how do you do that? Ask yourself 2 questions. Ask yourself, who can you count on? And who should you count out? Who can you count on to encourage you, to inspire you, to nurture those seeds of hope and to hold you to that higher standards? And who should you count out? The people that don't raise the bar, who I say will end up behind the bars. Behind the bars of mediocrity and of regret and of neglect. And so, at CEO Space, you're going to find people that you can count on, period. People that you can count on. And it's so interesting, right before, when I left out of CEO Space, I left with 3 goals. So for those who are going in this forum for the first time, make sure you know what you're leaving with before you go. Okay? Because I went there with high hopes. Everyone say high hopes.
High hopes.
Yes, that's actually my artist name as well. I will be known to the world as High Hopes. And High Hopes is actually an acronym. It stands for a hip-hop intellectual going higher, helping other people everywhere soar. So that's what I mean when I say I am High Hopes. Buy the album. So I went to CEO Space with high hopes. Everyone say high hopes. So I'm looking, I got these 300 songs. I'm looking for a record deal, you know, to get this stuff put out there. I'm looking for also nowadays many entertainers, they have better shots at television parts and acting and movie roles, if you've noticed that lately. So I would like some type of television show or something, and also more speaking engagements, because I do believe I enjoy speaking as well. So these were the 3 things that I went looking for. You can imagine Those are some pretty high hopes. It's not too many people necessarily in my industry at CEO Space. It will probably be a lot easier for you to find what you're looking for than it was for me to find a major record deal and a television show with some speaking gigs. It's just a little competitive in this industry. And so when I got back in town, I was asked, well, this guy, right before I went on the speaking tour, well, I'll just tell you this, okay? Leaving CEO Space, I was asked by the Los Angeles chapter, Miss Shameen, to come in and speak at their club meeting. I said, oh, that's great. I told Mr. Dorman, Bernie Dorman, that I was going to be the poster boy for CEO Space anyway because I had enjoyed it so much. And we had people from around the world saying, oh, I am motivated, but what do I do next? And so now I could tell them CEO Space. And I could really say they're going to get help. And that's not just fluff. I could just say that. And so I left there in that mindset anyway. This is how I'm going to get back, by bringing a whole new generation of people. So when she asked me, I said, okay, sure, that's in line. So I went to go speak at that forum meeting. And when I was there, a woman came and she said, oh, I know you're about to speak soon, but can you come outside? I want to introduce you to somebody. And we went outside and she put her phone on speakerphone. And she called a gentleman by the name of Matthew Earl Jones. This is the brother of the great actor James Earl Jones. And he's working on a new television show. It's a new show called The King of Rap. It's a hip-hop competition. The only twist is the contestants, they have to make music that does not have profanity and that everyone could listen to. And they said they're doing this, the winner of the show, they get this compilation, but they also get a 1-album record deal. They said the contest was over 4 months ago, but do you think you have anything that you'd like to add to the album? I wanted to scream to him and say, yes, I've been living, but I had to go back to my snap. You know, I had to read that. Yes, sir. Yes, I think I can. Okay, she gave me his email address, his phone number, and she left. She left. She didn't even stay to hear me speak. She just came to speak hope and promise into my life. And so here I am. I'm just overwhelmed with excitement because I went to the forum looking for what? Record deal, television show. I just got it all right there, and there I am speaking at the CEO Space Club meeting. After I did that speech, I got a call from Mr. Dorman. He said, hey, we've got club meetings nationally and internationally. How would you like to speak at all the club meetings up until the forum? And I talked to the gentleman, Matthew Earl Jones. He said, well, it makes sense. Since you're not only an artist, since you've got songs and you can speak as well, it would make sense. The show is with DMC from Run DMC, the first rap group to sell 1 million records, the first group to be on MTV, the first major hip-hop group to get $1 million endorsement through Adidas, the first hip-hop group to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame last year. And so it seems like, if I haven't seen your skill level, but if you're good at this, it would make sense for you to be the winner and to go around with DMC, not just doing songs, but speaking on the issues too. I said, wow. Everybody say willpower. Willpower. So I said that to say, I'm just excited, you know. I was blown away. I've been working at this 6 years, and here I am. I got a call, and it dealt with everything. And so right before I went on my CEO Space tour, because I'm booked for the next 7 weeks, okay, I got a call from a gentleman who was at the forum. And when you take your seeds of hope home, trust me, people will try their hardest to plant seeds of doubt. They will. If the motivator, okay, not knowing, not to be harmful, thinking they had the best interest in mind, I can only imagine what you go through and the type of negative internal conversation that comes as a result of those seeds of doubt. And so I'm talking to a guy, he saw me speak at the last forum in December, and he said, yeah, man, I saw your presentation, you were great, you know, and I know you're training speakers now, so if there's anything I can help as you train speakers, be more concise and to the point, that's my specialty. I said, well, hey, man, I love that too. I want to work with you too, because I'm developing and still growing. He said, well, you know, working with you, that's like fixing up a Ferrari, so that's nothing. You know, you were talking in your speech about authenticity or something, but you seemed a little bit too rehearsed. You know, I think that maybe it would be more authentic if you just started off your speech saying, I know you guys are just listening to me because I'm Les Brown's son. He said, because that's what the people in the audience are thinking anyway. And in that moment, right before going on the speaking tour, I said, wow, is this still it? I started to maybe feel bad about myself. And even though I got all these good things happening, and then I thought about it. When you come to CEO Space, and after you come, even after you, there will be people that just work with you because you're members of CEO Space. That's the only reason. It's not who mom and daddy you are, nothing like that. Just because you're a member of CEO Space, you get the business. And I can imagine you saying, oh no, I don't want the business because I'm just a member of CEO. Whatever. No, you've earned that favor. Okay? You deserve that right to get the type of access that this merits. And so I didn't feel bad about that. Great, at least they're listening. You know? And so, and it's not about just the undeveloped relationships, because when you come and they talk about meeting with the people at the meal tables and stuff, I see people spend more time with my dad at CEO Space than I spend with them in a week. You know? But you're in an environment, a standstill environment, where you get to develop those relationships. Not, I'll call you later. I'll call you later and we'll meet in room 215 later. And we can grow together. And that's the type of environment. And the P is, write this down, privileged insights. Everybody say privileged insights.
Privileged
Say
insights.
it with a smile, like you got the hook up. Say privileged insights.
Privileged insights.
The other day I was giving a presentation, and afterwards the gentleman asked, how long have you been a part of Toastmasters? I said, I'm sorry, I've been a part of privileged insights. I've been in both sides of the industry. I was there before the latest sales techniques came out in the late 90s, right before the millennium. I was there when it shifted from adding value to the room to selling the value in the back of the room. I was there for all of that. I know how to pull out a core message out of a person and to develop a product line and all of these things. And I didn't have to take any class on it. I've just been exposed to privileged insights. Raise your hand if you know there's some privileged insights in your industry, about your industry, that you haven't been exposed to yet. Raise your hand. Well, they're here. You showed up at the right place, at the right time, with the right people. 90% of success is what? Showing up. Well, what's the other 10%? Your seeds of hope, your higher standards, your opportunity mindset, that willpower to overhear a conversation that you were born to hear, but they didn't even know. To those undeveloped relationships. Go out, think about them, nurture those, get them ready. Because when you come to CEO Space, you'll get exposed to some privileged insights. And it's not about how much this place costs. It's about how much it can save you once you get those privileged insights. I could have been working, trying to get a record deal and a television show for another 10 years by myself with no headway. The contest was over 6 months ago. They're talking about making me the winner. It's not because I'm Les Brown's son, it's because I'm a CEO Space member. The woman came from CEO Space. Just because she heard me there, she came, brought her phone, put it on speakerphone, and left. And she changed my life forever. I hope that you continue to show up for your future. And write this down. Make your children's children proud. I'm doing what my dad taught me, not because we always get along, but because he's made his children proud. By touching lives and creating a career that I get to walk into and take to a whole nother level. So in closing, I want you to shake the person on the right and left of you hand, tell them that it's your time. It's your time.
It's your time.